Hi, welcome back to another video in the series. In our last video, we went over penetration testing techniques. Now we're going to go over authentication and authorization implementation techniques. Definitely tongue twister for some. But in our exercise that we're going to get into is just using directory services to administer user and group accounts. I believe I did this in part one. This is just to build off of that as far as using Active Directory, which is the central repository, right, that contains like various objects of users, groups, and computers. So I'm just going to first create a local user, but I'm going to do it in Win 10 instead. Whenever it loads. Okay. All right, perfect. So let's go here. Okay. Okay. All right, perfect. Close that out here. Now that we see that Mary Jane has been added, there's definitely nothing behind this. It's just a name that populated in my head, but that account has now been created. So now I'm just going to manage the user account permission. So just going to do that by messing with the properties here. Member of, let's add, all right, to backup operators. All right, of course we need the underline. There we go. Why? It's on, I guess. There it is. All right, perfect. So we can see Mary Jane has been added, and she's been added to the backup operators as far as being a member of that group. So I've created a local user, right, which means that the user's existence is only limited to the system, which is Win10, right? So outside of the scope of Win10, this user account does not exist technically. So for example, if we attempt to log on to another system with these credentials, uh, uh, I may not be able to. So however, if I attempt to log on in the other system, if I attempt to log on to this system, of course, I'll be able to log in with the password and the username I just created, right? So, but using a local user account like Mary Jane's, I can perform all tasks like a normal user, but within the same system on which, I created the account. So now I'm just going to create a domain user. So as I mentioned, Active Directory uses, a single repository of objects, users and computer accounts. Domain user with basic permissions can actually only perform normal functions, right? Like logging onto a domain system, of course, for performing routine tasks. Now I'm going to create the user domain account through DC here. So just need to really quickly get to server manager. Perfect, came right up there for me. Perfect. Guess I still need to wait. I think it's behind it. There it is. There it is. All right, perfect. So do that. All right. I like the name Josh Fairbanks. Then we could do Fairbanks J to log on, right? Make sure everything is checked. Well, unchecked rather. All right, perfect. Still, I can see that Josh's account has been created. So now I'm just going to add the account to user. Going to add the user to your group. So of course, naturally, it's going to go on the side of the properties. Pretty similar concept like before, right? We're going to make sure we have add here. See, we want him to be an operator. All right, perfect. Let me hit apply. Don't like getting out of apply. All right, perfect. So we're good there with Josh. So actually, let me do that there. All right, perfect. So now I'm just going to close this out and we're going to get to the next exercise. All right. So there's different types of authentication, right? And what we're going to dive a bit into in this exercise is biometrics. So it's going to be kind of a point to drive across more so than the action of what we're doing as far as what the capabilities of requiring certain authentication methods in order to access files, organizations, or networks or what may have you, right? And the reason why I say that is we're going to dive into the biometric uh, authentication method to be able to log in. Obviously, this being a lab, not going to be able to completely go through the entire thing, but we're still going to get the concept of it, right? And usually the biometrics usually has two parts to it, right? So the first part is like enrollment into which physical characteristic of an individual is registered. I mean, we do it all the time when you're talking about facial recognition just to log into your cell phone, right? The system doesn't, or it's not supposed to, I say, store the physical characteristics, but converts it to like a numerical value and stores it into a database. But the second part is the authentication part. So when it uses the physical characteristics for the authentication purpose, it's again converted to the numeric value, right? Compared to its stored values in the database. So I mean, you can talk about facial that I mentioned, retina, iris, fingerprint, which we used to have on the iPhone as well, voice. I know if you called into your financial institution, at least in my experience, they use your voice to determine if you are who you say you are, right? And there's all different types of ways to take a look at different, authentication techniques for doing this. But we can also, to add to that, we can also enable multi-factor authentication, which can be facial recognition along with a password, which could be a password along with a text message, or a password along with an email, usually, or a code that's given to you in order to enter this particular code on another device that's already been authorized. So there's so many different ways to enable multi-factor multi-factor authentication, right? So so we're actually going to deep dive into that and a practical application of that. So let me actually open this back up again and take a look here. All right, so let's take a look at Jane Brown. Take a look at her properties and her account. Right, and then the biometric option would be, what is it? Well, not biometric in this case, but MFA. She applies. So I'm telling it that when she logs out, I'm sorry, when she tries to log in, then it'll automatically actually reset this or reboot it. It'll automatically ask for a smart card for her to be able to log in. And that's in addition to the password. We're actually going to showcase that as well on another server. That's the second. All right, so the server is fully loaded. So we're just going to verify the smart card logon capability. If I could click on it, right? So I just configured the user right to log on with smart card. This means if the user doesn't have it, just to reiterate, then it'll ask for that smart card. They won't be able to log in. So let's see, Jane B. And of course, I have the password, right? And I hit enter. Perfect. So and that's exactly what I want. So since the user was configured to use a smart card for login, the system message appears, right? So due to, again, system limitations for this particular lab, I won't be able to receive beyond. Everything is obviously virtual, so I can't have a physical smart card that I can configure in order to be able to demonstrate what that looks like. But nonetheless, we've reached the end of this video for authorization and authentication implementation techniques. Quite a mouthful, huh? And just a brief recap, we went over a few things, we went over biometric authentication, Active Directory users and computers, and also, as we can see in our last task, we went over MFA as well. On our next video, we're going to go over authentication and authorization solutions, along with the implementation techniques that we've just finished up, and I'll see you there.